Hello everybody, my name's Drew Demon and I am the Devil's Stockbroker. In this video, we're going to be talking about a stock that probably not a whole lot of people have been talking about. As a matter of fact, as I look at social media sentiment right now, it seems like it's one of the least talked about stocks on the market right now, and for good reason. But something fundamental seems to have changed in this particular ticker, and I wanted to bring this to everybody's attention so that if something is actually indeed going on with this stock, everybody in Hell's trading floor and all of the members who have been following us on YouTube can get a early entry into what could be a potential banger. Potential banger. Today, the ticker that I want to introduce you to is VORB, Virgin Orbit Holdings. Virgin Orbit is a very little known company with a relatively large number of employees, and they're in the business of building and operating responsive launchers for space travel. Essentially, this is a rocket science company. They build rocket launch stage apparatuses for all kinds of different companies, and essentially, what they do is they send satellites for small businesses and government into low orbit. This company is currently in a funding stage, looking for initial capital, and they've been pretty starved of cash lately. First, I want to go over the technicals. If you look at VORB, you can see that this company has been selling off for a very long time since they IPO'd in May of 2021. They've obviously not done very well, and that's not really a secret. The company is in a position right now where it is in dire need of cash, and they are running out currently. And essentially, what shorts have been betting on is that the company is not going to be able to fund itself continuing into the next year. So essentially, shorts are betting on a bankruptcy move. Now, the thing is that something very interesting has happened recently. If we go to the news tab on TradingView, we can actually see that yesterday there was apparently a talk with a startup investor that is promising Virgin Orbit access to some cash. So currently, Virgin Orbit, the owner's name is Richard Branson. He is a billionaire who is basically trying to join the billionaire space race. And Reuters had reported on Wednesday that Texas venture capital investor Matthew Brown was nearing a deal to invest $200 million in the space startup via a private share placement, essentially a private deal to exchange shares for investment capital. Citing a term sheet Reuters had seen. Quote, as we disclosed March 16th, the company has taken cash preservation measures as it explores strategic options to secure Virgin Orbit's future. The company can confirm that it is in discussions with interested parties about a potential investment in the company. So the deal with this current potential investor, Matthew Brown, seems to be like a foregone conclusion. There's a few other material events surrounding this that are worth digging into, and we'll get to some filings here in just a minute. But the last thing that was commented on with CNBC that we are in active discussions. In fact, I would say final discussions with the company, Brown told CNBC. We like the company and we fully plan on transacting with the company within the next 24 hours. Brown, who describes himself as a space enthusiast, has invested in more than 13 space companies and told CNBC that he would own Virgin Orbit if the deal closes. So Brown didn't confirm what the exact amount was going to be, but he did say very firmly that the deal would, quote, inject enough capital to make Virgin Orbit cash flow positive. So this all points to a potential acquisition of the company and that this acquisition is actually happening imminently, basically. The current capital situation of the company is very tenuous. They don't have the cash to keep operating. So this deal is coming at a point that is makes it extremely attractive. Now, what I want to point out on the chart here that makes this so compelling is that if you go back in the history of VORB all the way back to its IPO date and go all the way back to the very first date, May 19th, 2021, and you can bring this all back to the 13th of March. If you do that, then you'll take note that in the course of 2 years, this company has traded 236.69 million shares. In its entire history of trading, it has at most traded 237 shares. We'll just round it up. This company in total has a float of 7.967 million shares. That's not a lot to go around. So this company has very little actual shares traded in the market. They have an extremely high amount of interest that has happened recently. You will take note that in the last several trading days, we're going to go back to the 14th of March. There has been 155 million shares traded in this company in the last 10 calendar days. That is such a significant amount of shares. I don't even know where they would have found them all. But all of this purchasing absolutely points to an acquisition happening imminently right in front of our very eyes. This makes the company such an attractive buy at this moment that I'm just going to go ahead and drop into a position right now while I have the opportunity. So you can see that the volume direction candles on this particular ticker, just by itself, this already shows how much of a difference there has been in the purchasing volume on this stock. Just really the last 3 days has been the only positive momentum in the stock. The last 4 days have all just been seeing it getting smashed down, right? And that's typically a technique of brokers in order to supply a desired purchase for another buyer. They'll bring the price down to bring it to a desired price level that a customer is willing to purchase it for. So they will put pressure on it and they will use various techniques. You could say market manipulation. We'll just call it market 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 fluff. But in this situation, the stock has come all the way back down into this gap area below a dollar. And right now, I firmly believe that the stock is in the process of being acquired. So let's go take a look at another set of factors. Let's actually go over to Dilution Tracker. So Dilution Tracker is a really useful tool that I like to go and look at whenever I see one of these stock tickers being um, coming up on my radar. Because one of the problems that tends to come up for all of these tickers that we cover, especially anything that Scourge has called out, which Scourge actually did print out a notice on this ticker. A common problem is that the stocks that Scourge calls out are usually at 52-week lows, have a very extreme volume spike, and an extreme spike of short exempts. So there are certain conditions that go along with that, and typically those companies are in trouble. So dilution is a very common thing that occurs with the stock tickers that we're looking at in these areas. So because of that, that does carry with it some risk of dilution. So we always want to take a look at Dilution Tracker before we engage with this. Right now, stock currently has an outstanding amount of 337 million shares. So, like I said, the cash need, the cash burn of the company is already pretty extreme. The company has had a quarterly cash burn of $45 million, and they only had about 7 million cash left. They went into a complete standstill and halted all company operations indefinitely in order to secure additional capital. And that's what this whole discussion is that's ongoing is all about. And if this company is in fact being acquired by a billionaire who is infatuated with the idea of space travel, then we're talking about a complete reacquisition and restructuring of the company by somebody else entirely. Now, this company has, like I said, a total amount of 337 outstanding shares. They have the ability to offer these shares to big institutions. We still have to go through the filings in order to figure out who these guys are, but their float is much, much smaller. According to TradingView, it's around 7.9 million shares. According to Dilution Tracker, it's 16.6 million. So we have to kind of figure out for ourselves what the truth is. If we break it down into the holders, we see that most of the holders of this company comes down, as far as institutions go, come down to a few different capital management firms, including Vanguard, which holds a 2 million share position. This is probably for the purpose of a micro ETF or a micro cap ETF. Let's also go ahead and take a look at some of the latest press releases. We have most of this is all dated stuff, so this doesn't look particularly useful. Okay, let's just go ahead and skip over to the filings. Now let's go and review the last disclosure, which was dated March 22nd, 2023. We go to this particular filing. This is a 8K form. This is essentially a disclosure form for fundamental changes in the company. If we go down a little bit further here, this concerns the VORB and VORBW, which is the warrants for the stock that are traded in the market. This company has disclosed that they are currently in a company-wide operational pause beginning March 16th. So this is what we just talked about. Trying to conserve capital while the company conducts discussions with a potential funding source and exploring strategic opportunities. They're talking to this multimillionaire guy, this Matthew Brown, who wants to go to space and has invested in a whole bunch of different space travel companies. And I think that this may be a personal project of his in order to completely take control of Virgin Orbit. If that is the case, then this presents an opportunity for investors to get a position on the rocket, so to speak, to ride this trend to the upside. If this company receives basically an unlimited funding source from a philanthropist that wants to go to space, then the company's cash liquidity problems go away overnight. Now let's go look at something else extremely fun, the short interest. So if we go over to Ortex and we take a look at the amount of shares that are on loan for VORB, according to this, 4.16 million shares are on loan for the company. And that, according to the TradingView charts, which says that there's only a roughly 8 million share float, this is more than 50% of the float currently on loan. The short interest for the company is somewhere around 709,000 shares, which is 18.5% of the company sold short. As you can see, when the company took a sudden jump on March 22nd, shorts piled onto it and basically dogpiled the stock, trying to beat it back down. What this has done is it's completely overnight exhausted all of the the available lendable shares of the company. Utilization got maxed out immediately, and the company is now in the process of a potential acquisition. This is every bit the definition of a bear trap. We look at the security lending volume, you can see that the volume in short activity has been ramping up massively over the last month. Shorts that had been in their positions going back of around 40 days have largely either been getting out of their positions or new shorts have been getting into new positions. We're not entirely sure which, but as it currently stands, it looks like shorts have been adding to their positions recently in massive numbers. And we're actually seeing the number of loans increasing significantly. We saw a drop in the number of loans that occurred on March 22nd, but then we immediately jump back up to 89 loans outstanding on VORB. This refers to 89 separate positions marked in different brokerage accounts. So the total number of shorts that are actually in a short position roughly is 89. This could be one institution with 89 separate accounts. It could be 10 different institutions with roughly 10 accounts between them all. We don't know, But the point is that there's only a very small number of short positions in total with a very large amount of short leverage held in this stock. Let's add one additional factor of the put call ratio, which originally was sitting at 2.01. This means that for every call, there were two puts outstanding in this particular stock. Shorts overwhelmingly were betting on this company to fail. Since March the 1st, this has now dropped all the way down to 1.04. This means a almost 1-to-1 ratio between calls and puts. So overwhelmingly, recently, calls have been getting opened up and puts have been getting closed. Either that or the calls have massively outpaced the number of puts that have been getting opened in this stock. The other thing that I will point out is that VORB was called out by Scourgebot on, looks like it was the morning of March 23rd that the ticker showed up on our radar. We didn't get a chance to look at this one. We've been staring at a lot of these different tickers, but VORB was the one. This was one that showed up in our recent screener results, and I want to give credit to Okie State for finding this. Okie State is a member of our Discord that was looking at VORB and took an initial position and brought it to our attention after hearing about, the bullish news of a potential involvement of a philanthropist buying up the company. So big shout out to Okie State for bringing this to my attention and, sparking my interest to do a little bit of digging on this one. Next, we're going to take a look at the short exempts on this one. And the the stock has actually been getting a lot of attention from market makers with a lot of price suppression occurring within the last few days. So VORB was being pushed down from a 64-cent position all the way down to a low the following morning at 43.5 cents. That day that push down occurred was the 17th. That was 4 trading days before the announcement that the company might be getting acquired, or at least going to get a cash infusion from a philanthropist investor or an angel investor. This short exempt ratio was 18% of the total short volume that was traded that day. The day before that, it was 5.8% short exempts versus short volume. So overwhelmingly, the amount of short exempts in this indicate to me a great deal of market maker involvement, trying to reduce the amount of price pressure to the upside from anybody that's trading this stock in the open market. I don't believe that this has retail's interest by and large. I don't think this stock really has anyone's attention, as far as I know. I was looking at Ape Wisdom, and in the last 24 hours, this stock has been talked about twice. It's had 2 mentions on Reddit. Nobody really is even paying any attention to it. You look at the short exempts, obviously the market makers are very interested in holding its price in a particular position. These short exempts that hit just 2 days ago on the 22nd number at 1.2 million shares short exempt. These are going to have to be located at some point and provided to the market. So wherever they got these from, and I don't think that I don't think that they have a reasonable locate on that many shares from a single lender. These are going to have to be reaccumulated out of the market, most likely borrowed from different entities. This is an opportunity for retailers to get in on the price action while it is still low. If this acquisition actually goes through and there is an 8K material filing that announces the acquisition has gone through, and it sounded like Matthew Brown wanted to move very quickly on this, seems very likely and probable to me that that announcement can come within the next 6 trading days. If that occurs, then any failures to locate that resulted from these short exempts, those market makers are going to have a very hard time acquiring those shares once that chaos starts ensuing. You can also take a look at some of the historical volume in this just to see this, graphically represented on this chart. You can see that the amount of volume, and short exempt volume had a massive spike all simultaneously, coinciding with this entire move. So the short volume exceeded 17.5 million on that particular day. The total volume was over 35 million on March 23rd. So you're talking about this stock being, even by Dilution Tracker's figures of 16 million share float, this stock still traded more than 3 times its float in the span of a single day. So something's going on. something's obviously happening in this ticker. I went and took a look at the put call ratio as of today. Ortex's data is a little bit delayed, but we have Oprah data that shows the open interest as of the most recent close. And as of today, there's a 71% calls. 71% of the options that exist in VORB is actually on the call chain. If you drop down to the live open interest on this, you can see that the number of calls for VORB at $1 exceeds about 20% of the float for the next 5 months at $1, just $1. That's how many options have been opened up in this stock for $1 in just the last few trading days. So there's still quite a lot of puts that are on the chain as well. You can take a look at these also. This is the equivalent chart just for the puts. You can see that there's quite a lot of puts at May 19th for $1 that are in the money, but these are probably already existing from shorts that have had a position sat open for the last several months. So if these get pushed out of the money, these will go worthless, and then you'll see an evacuation of equity value in those options thereafter. So the last part that I will give you a quick peek at is the short squeeze or the gamma squeeze chart. This is a gamma ramp chart. Normally on normal tickers that are not penny stocks, you would see a pretty clear ramp where we're starting from like a low number, 0 or so, but the reason why you're seeing this start here is because at exactly $1, almost 20% of there's no calls in the money right now, right? So we're starting from a 0 ramp. But as soon as the stock reaches $1, and it closed at 80 cents today, by the way, as soon as it reaches $1, 20% of the float automatically is put into the money. That's just for those call options that are expiring this April. It doesn't include the call options for May or for August. So all of those options that just got added onto the chain are now starting to be put into and factored in this potential gamma ramp. So at $1, the stock goes up just by 20 cents. 20% of the float automatically is put in the money on the call chain. And this is something that market makers are going to have to hedge for because they've been opening these calls at sub 80 cents. The stock hasn't been trading at that level for probably about, if we go look at the TradingView chart, it's been trading below 80 cents for pretty much the last 2 weeks. So starting Thursday, March the 16th, the stock was trading at sub 70 cents and it only popped up to 75 cents or 78 cents for one day on the 22nd of March. And all those calls were being opened up when the price was way down here that entire time. So this is actually a really huge opportunity for a gamma ramp to form basically out of nowhere. And this has only just now gotten started. So yeah, I'm compelled to take a position in this. So just full disclosure, I have a long position on VORB. This is not a long-term investment for me. This is just a trade. So for those who are watching, just know that I plan on getting out of my position as soon as I have taken some tidy profit on it. I like the look of the stock for the short term, and I think that there's a chance for some really good volatility once an announcement comes out of this. And we'll have to see what the reaction is from the market once the news hits. But obviously, the stock has not been getting much attention to it lately. Nobody's been talking about it on Reddit for the last couple of weeks, even though this massive relative spike in volume has occurred. And for me, that's pretty exciting. Again, big shout out to Okie State for calling this one out and bringing it to our attention, as well as a big thanks to the developers of the Scourgebot, who Scourgebot already called this out and pointed out the stats on this one beforehand. We just hadn't had a chance to look at it, but thankfully Okie State was already digging into it and analyzing that information from Scourge ahead of time and was able to find this banger play for us before it's even taken off. So just keep in mind that what follows is entirely up to you. We have no way of knowing what this ticker will do. We have no way of knowing what's going to happen at the close of this deal with this investor. We don't know what that's going to look like. And to be honest, we can't even track accurately whether or not there will be dilution on this in the future. But from what it sounds to me, based on the filings, based on the recent news and the interview from CNBC, it appears that this company is either being acquired or an angel investor is taking a very large position at a bottom dollar price in order to get his ticket on a rocket ship company to take it to the moon. And you know what? Fair enough. That's pretty exciting stuff. Just remember to only bet what you can afford to lose, and please exercise good risk management strategies if you decide to play this. This is, after all, a high risk penny stock. It's not something to get married to, or to throw your money into for a giant YOLO play. This is something that you want to be very careful of, and kind of dip your toes into as you wade in. So please be careful. I don't want to hear about anybody losing massive amounts of money because they rode it all the way to the top and then watched it crash back down because they never sold their position or didn't manage their risk. Always, always, always manage your risk. Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. But until then, have a hell of a time in the markets. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to watch this video. If you enjoyed the content and you found this information helpful to you in your own trading strategies, be sure to leave a like on the video. It helps out the YouTube algorithm and helps us reach out to others who need this information too. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're not a member of Hell's Trading Floor already, consider joining our Discord by joining us at hellstradingfloor.com, which will allow you to sign up for our Discord at discord.gg/hellstradingfloor. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, have a hell of a time in the markets.